for tonight. So it is like a question for everybody and you have to answer it. Everybody comes up here, is that correct? Mr. Baker?
Well, they can stand up. You decide.
You're a judge.
I'm deciding. Hey, I'm going to take charge. So Helen, would you like to come for the first icebreaker? Ta-da! And I'm just handing up. Okay, so where and when would you like to retire?
I wouldn't like to retire. I want to continue working. I'm a photographer and I absolutely love photography. So retirement is not a thing for me. I will be out taking photographs, working on the internet, social media, you name it, I'll be doing it.
So, Danny,
Me?
what is your goal by the end of the decade?
Decade. Well, first of all, probably would be to learn what a decade is.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
End of the decade. So end of this decade. Yeah, it's somebody tell me it's 2021. Well, I want to be a crypto millionaire. I have been playing around in crypto only because I had so much pushback about learning about crypto. To shut everyone up, I got some. And I bought the worst cryptocurrency ever, Shiba. That's what my friend said, who was just made about $1.5 million on crypto. He said, don't buy that crap. I bought it. The other day, I tenfold my money. Now. So I want to be a crypto millionaire. I don't know what I'm going to do with my money, but you did ask me what my goal was.
Name me low, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Hey, Mr. Baker, where would you like to build your dream home?
Where would I like to build my dream home? Well, it definitely would not be in New Zealand, because I've been in New Zealand since 1988. Times have a change. And there is only one place, well, lots of places one could build a dream home, but the places I've visited, and I've been in quite a few places around the world, my goal was to go to each continent by the time I was 30, which I did by the time I was 28, so that was it. But the only place that I would build my dream home would have to be Rome. Anyone been to Rome?
Yes.
Perfect, wonderful, beautiful city. It would have to be Rome.
Wow. Bronte, tell us what you're grateful for. No.
Evening
Why are you actually here when you're not participating? Tell us what you're grateful for. I wanted to steal
My amazing father.
It's worth that you said that. It's so lovely. Thank you for sharing this with us. It's beautiful.
Almost illegal. Almost.
Rob,
Yes.
what are you grateful for?
Katara, ladies and gentlemen, gratefulness is bullshit. I actually had a conversation about this at the weekend, talking about positive affirmations and being grateful and all that. Did you know that scientifically it has been proven that some of that is actually detrimental to mental health? Yes, it's true. For a certain amount of people, about 10% of the population, I'm one of the 10%. And I'll tell you for why. Because I'm not grateful for anything. Like, I don't wake up and go, oh, I'm grateful for the sun today.
You're being
grateful for the eggs.
honest, I can tell.
No, it's that 10% of us, it's a true story, as opposed to everything else I talk about. But 10% of us don't buy bullshit like that. 10% of us will wake up, we actually love problems because we're grateful for having something that we can work on. Yes, you can
Come on in. He's picking apart gratefulness.
And I'm grateful that Ailsa came in and I could help her problem of being lost. Welcome, Ailsa. Thank you.
You missed the worst speech of all. The best speech of all.
Peter, would you like to actually tell us what you are grateful for after this wonderful speech of anti-gratefulness?
I'm grateful Rob stopped talking. This should be brief. I'm grateful I'm living in a country which has taken COVID seriously. It's sort of going to custard at the moment because the media is listening to BS. But basically, we have done well. As a team of 5 million, we're not, whatever. compared to a significant load of places around the world, we have done well. And we should pat ourselves on the back. Lots more work to do, but it could be so much worse.
Wonderful. Now let's apologies because I don't know your name. Oopsie.
Tina.
Hi Tina, would you like to tell us what you're grateful for?
And don't say John.
Who's John? Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I am grateful for John, actually. His long-suffering husband lets this woman go off in her van and travel off for 3 weeks and do what she, wants to do. Came and joined me down at our family bash and we had some time together there. But I'm most interested in what Rob was saying about 10% of the population. I'd like to drill down on that with you sometime. I'm not quite sure why 10% of the population is not healthy to be grateful, but I think it's always good to try and think of the glass half full, as it were, because there's lots of things that we can think about the glass is half empty. So I'm grateful for my husband. I'm grateful that I'm here in New Zealand too. Peter made that point that there's a lot of other places that you probably wouldn't really want to be at the moment. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Is it Brett? Brett, would you like to tell us what you were grateful for?
Sure.
I'm thinking as he walks up.
I was just thinking about this because there's quite a few comments that I have from a few people that are grateful because of all the crap stuff that they're listening to, and unfortunately a lot of it comes from the US, but there is some good things that come from there too. And I'm grateful for good news. Don't get much of it, but when it does come, I think it's fantastic. I'm part of some of the things that I do to kind of create a distraction from all the crap that's going on is I'll share photos, and there's a ton of beautiful photos. They're not mine, but they're out there in collections on Facebook of pictures from around the world, and there are some amazing ones. Of course, Facebook will read your trend and start sending you more and pushing it all on you again, and so you just keep sharing them. And people just love it. My family loves it. Just a lot of them, of course, are from New Zealand, and they can't come here. They can't go. When will they be able to get here? But definitely, there's a lot of beautiful scenery, and we're so fortunate to be close to stuff like Milford Sounds, one of the most incredible spots in the world, and being able to still go and do those things and move around. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Thank you. So, would you like to tell us what you were grateful for, apart from your wonderful life?
No, I'm not going to say that. I am actually grateful that I can hit the off button on the TV and not listen to all the crap that seems to be going on at the moment. Tina was saying we were recently down at her father's patch and just sitting on the decking there. I was really grateful for that because it's quiet down there, there's not a lot of people, and I was sitting there just doing a bit of meditation, watching the sea and thinking, all the crap with COVID wasn't there, all the crap with climate change wasn't there, the sun was still coming up, the sea was coming in. You almost make it all go away. I'm sure there is a problem out there, yes, I'm sure, but it's really nice to sit on the decking and just meditate and enjoy nature. That's what I'm grateful for, going to see into nature and enjoying it.
So,
Remember, the goal is 13 minutes break. We cannot steal 3 minutes from other parts of the meeting. Now, anyone remember when they were a youngster and they got to do a speech in front of a large audience? Nor can I. Let's be honest. I think there was only 2 people in the school principal's office whenever I had a speech to make about something we did wrong. So now we're going to hear from Bronte, who's doing an 8-minute talk called Speech. I've got good notes. Is this correct? Do you have a
It's
title?
definitely not 8 minutes.
Technical stuff.
Oh, can I have like 2 minutes when she doesn't want the 8?
Roll the punches.
Now, on the way here, my goal was to actually find a question to ask everyone that was going to have a part in the meeting. And I said to Helen, what should we ask Bronte? And we was going to ask you a really complex question about the Einstein's theory of evolution.
The little one right
No, then we thought we would just go for a simple one. Your favourite colour and why? Yeah, is it favourite colour
Yellow.
and what? Yellow. Why yellow?
Oh no, it just is.
Good answer.
No, let's
Can you
dive
tell
into
me
this
she
yellow.
is
Deep, my daughter.
Is it the sunlight?
Okay,
Yeah. I like what you did with that.
fair enough.
Yeah, just dragged it out slowly. Got there. Well, I don't have a podium to offer you. Did you want one? Because I have to go out and build one. And we've got 13 minutes for break time. So if you'd like to come up, this is your area here. And then please do not walk over the line over here and the line over here. I can't. Well done, you.
I'm gonna kill you there.
Leave it to us.
She's grateful for you.
There's a queue. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Bronte, and I want to talk about why I should be allowed to buy and play Minecraft. Because this is the only way Dad will ever let me get it, so. Minecraft is a video game that can be played on almost any device. It is an open adventure game where the player is not concentrated to achieve goals in order. There's the freedom to explore and take the game at their own pace. The game is all about foraging for food and materials, building houses and structures with various purposes, and fighting off deadly mobs like zombies and skeletons. The game, however, has a boss called the Ender Dragon, and it'll take some time to prepare for the fight. But it's not like there's a timer. You can just take your time, and even after the boss is defeated, the game won't end, and you won't have to play the game again. The game only ends when you want it to end. When playing Minecraft, you can choose how you want to play. Either keep it simple or take your time and advance and prepare for whatever comes next. Or you can play in a complex way, trying to do things as fast as you can. Do really difficult things and build massive bases that would take hours. If there's not enough, download mods to make the game harder, but it's really all up to you. Constructing things is a large part of Minecraft. There are many different blocks with different blocks and blocky shapes. You can either gather or make almost any of these blocks and make amazing houses with them. You can also make gardens, mountains, and entire islands. Whatever you want to make, you can make it. Minecraft, even though it's been around for over 10 years, still gets updates a lot. New things get added every year. 3 different creatures are designed, and players vote on what creatures they would like to add. Over the year, the game has changed a lot, and there are so many things to do. My teachers at school think that Minecraft is educational, and even less students play it during interval and lunch. Teachers say that children learn best when having fun, and Minecraft can be educational and fun at the same time. In fact, lots of teachers around the world think that it can help children with their maths and problem-solving skills. Minecraft teaches children how to manage resources and encourage critical thinking, as well as improving creativity and imagination. Minecraft used to be free to play on my iPad and phone, but now Microsoft has bought it, you have to buy the game. I used to play a lot when it was free. And I asked my dad, the amazing and handsome Robert Lawley.
More of that.
I've never met him.
Oh no, I lost my place.
It's 2 Robs.
Did he write that?
If I pay for it. He said that I would only be allowed to pay for it if I stopped and did an elevated pitch to all of you, whatever that means. Therefore, this is what I have just done. So, yeah, that's it.
Oh, Richard.
Why do the villagers just grunt all the time?
I don't know, they're stupid. That's why. They're good for only money.
They're Australian.
Right, another question. We have all the questions. Yes.
When did Microsoft buy Minecraft?
I have no idea. I'm not sure. Probably 4 or 5 years ago. I honestly have no idea.
Right. Another question over here.
No.
Are you buying this out of your own money, or is it being purchased for you?
I have to do it out of my own money.
Oh, negotiable.
When did they start charging for it?
As soon as Microsoft bought it, I have no idea where they
Oh,
bought it.
okay. Yeah, because it used to be free. Yeah.
Yeah, because Minecraft was developed by one person, and over the years that he started, I think, employing other people, and after a while, he ended up getting a bit bored, so Microsoft bought it off him and started creating more things.
Excellent, Richard.
It's not a question, but if your father needs convincing as to the wonderful benefits of Minecraft, then get him to talk to me.
That's cool. Now we're going to do a something. We've got stay there. We're going to have a standing ovation because she's going to. Well, let's do it. There you go. That was brilliant.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Who's heard of YouTube? Show of hands. Thank you. YouTube has increased its viewer audience in the last 18 months because of the pandemic by some estimates 30 to 40%. Massive. If you ever want to become a YouTuber, and apparently 29% of school children want to become a YouTuber as their first aim at a job, then now is the time. So, I have wanted to become a YouTuber for several years, but procrastination has won until recently. So I've got into it. This is a quick summary of all of the things that I've encountered along the way, and some of them are pretty tragic.
Is this 20 minutes long?
The first thing is, if you want to get onto YouTube, is that you need to create a channel, which basically means you are a one person, could be multiple person, TV show. Now, I didn't think about this because I'm sure we've all heard YouTube channel of this and YouTube channel of that, but never actually stopped to think. This is actually a channel. This is something that you can tune into whenever you like and watch it, just like Coronation Street, the news, Shortland Street, anything like that. And it's realised or been impressed upon me that these people, a lot of them, take it really, really seriously. And they put a lot of time and effort into creating their show, which is sometimes daily, sometimes weekly or monthly, but for many of them, around about 7 to 10 days, they'll put out another show on their channel. But I say channel because you can watch all of their past shows. And one of the people that I'm subscribed to, I watch their channel, they've got 600 videos on there. I could be watching that for maybe the next 6 months before I even get into the new stuff that's coming out. So, you need to create a Gmail account, you need to create a channel name, you need to come up with what are your topics going to be that you're going to be talking about. And I want you to consider when you watch all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through, why don't you do this? Have you ever thought about it? And I'll tell you for why. Many years ago, about 15 years ago, I'm an antique dealer. I go into a lot of estates, but sometimes I go into the estate before the person's dead. So it's a kind of pre-estate visit. I went into Saltburn retirement home. Don't know what it's called, doesn't matter. There were two amazing people in there. One had been a general manager of a massive company, and the other had been a professional accountant in another massive company. While I was going through their china and effects to see what I wanted to buy, they told me about how life was in the retirement home. And then they started talking about the things that they missed from when they worked. And I was thinking, 15 years ago, when these people die, their story dies with them. What's your story? Are you going to let it die with you? So you need a channel, you need something to record video and something to record audio, and this is where my adventure started. So I decided that I was going to create a channel on something that I don't like to use the word expert. I know a hell of a lot about English China in my business, but I stutter, and 1% of the world stutter. So there's 1 in every 100 people that I could actually give some value to. And I'm pretty qualified to give value to because I do public speaking, I partly speak for a living, and I used to run an international program, and I've taught people how to overcome their stutter in 3 countries. Few people are servicing it because most people who stutter don't want to talk about stuttering. I have expert knowledge. Not everybody has that, but we don't need it because we've all got experience in something. So I thought, what subjects and what purpose? This was hard. Really, really hard, because I thought, wow, I've got to get everything ordered. I've got to get all my ducks in a row before I can start. So that is fantastic for procrastination. And I am the ultimate procrastinator. So I did what anybody would do, and I thought, let's talk about spending money. So I went onto YouTube, and I watched videos, hundreds of them, about bloody microphones. Podcastage is a guy who was one of the most nerdiest people I've ever seen on YouTube. I listened to him, and my God, I could not stop listening to him. He is subtly really, really funny. And I'd be doing all my work from my antiques with YouTube running off on the side. And I'm hearing all about microphones. Who thought that you could create an entire channel with something like 250,000 followers talking about reviews of microphones? But I learned all about the various types of microphones, the condenser types, the dynamic microphones, right, the shotgun mics, and how they work, their strengths and weaknesses, all of the various brands. What's a top brand? What's a crap brand? What's a really cheap brand that actually performs just as good as something 10 times as much? The strengths and weaknesses. This is one of the big things that I learned. Mics are directional. Now, we've probably all heard this, because if I were to pick up a mic right now, like this, where would you talk into that mic? Who knows? I'm going to point to places on that mic, and I want you to raise your hand. Would you talk into this?
No.
This?
No.
This?
No.
This?
No.
This?
No.
This?
Yes. No.
Yes, on that one you would. And you can tell by the shape of the top. But Danny knows if this is changed shape, it may not be obvious where you talk to this.
Okay.
Many of you need to talk to the side. Or maybe the side is actually what appeared to be the back. Now here's what happens if you put a microphone here and I need to talk to it here. When I start talking, my voice, sound waves go into the microphone and it records it. But here's what happens as well. All those words go out there and out there, up there, down there, and bounce around. Now when you don't talk into the right side, the mics are made to expel the sound. So, which wall here is going to cause me problems with bounce sound waves? Danny knows, the one behind me. And you'd think that my body is going to block that, but it's not. Because they're going to come in from any angle and reverberate. And even now you can hear the echo of my voice. Echo is almost impossible to get out of an edited audio track. And bad echo creates a problem for all audio. And there's a saying on YouTube, is that 50% of video is audio. And they have proven that people will tolerate crap video. They will turn off of crap audio. Think about that next time you watch.
Think about 11 minutes.
Syncing your sound. So, 2 ways to record. If you have a look at the back there, you will see that I have a camera. And in the side of the camera, not this, that's the power cable, but in the side of that camera is a little hole. I can stick a microphone in there. If I stick a microphone in there, or with that particular camera, if I do not stick a microphone in there, sound is recorded at the same time in sync with the video. But sometimes there's problems with that, because usually if you're very picky and you record straight into the camera, there's internal sound in the camera. There's a little hiss. It's called a noise floor. And if the noise floor is too high, then that will mean that yes, I have got synced audio with the video, but it's not good audio. And it's very hard to get the hiss out. So sometimes you can record on a separate device. So I could have an iPhone up here recording my sound, that's my sound file, record my video in the camera and go home and sync them. Guess what I learned just last week after months? I learned that there's a thing called stretch, and I'd never heard about this before. So you go home, and when you start, you clap. Because when you take the audio file, there's a big peak on it. So you can take that big peak and align it to where my hands touched. And now you've got it in sync. But that assumes that that is going at exactly the same speed as whatever's recording the audio. And apparently, sometimes they're not. That's why you can watch a video and everything's in sync at the start, and then it goes on, you will find that everything's not necessarily aligned. So there's always little problems. The more you know, the more you encounter a little problem. This here is that once you get your audio, you can edit it. You will hear people that are on the radio and they speak an amazing voice like this. They actually don't. They run the sound through a audio editor straight out of the mic before it gets transmitted. That's why a lot of radio is what they call a compressed sound. You actually compress the waves. So you take out the gravelly high bits and the gravelly low bits, and you have the strong bit in the middle, called compressed sound, usually at a ratio of 2:1. You can also just slice those high bits straight off. So there's a lot you can do with the sound. And did you know that right in the middle of our voice is a gravelly bit? So I'm just going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If you recorded that, you will hear a little gravel bit right in the middle between my high pitch and my low pitch. And you can tweak an equalizer, pull it down by about 6 decibels, and have my voice smooth out, which I couldn't do naturally, but you can do it unnaturally. Make somebody sound fantastic.
What software do you use for that?
Basically, any equalizer
Any free
can do it, but you've got to find where it is because it's slightly different for each person.
Ooh.
I thought initially I could do everything on my iPhone until I realised one really inconvenient thing. iPhones are really sharp. Has anybody got an expensive smartphone that they spent over $1,000 on? Probably me and Danny have at least, and probably possibly. Oh, okay. You'll find that if you take a photo with that, it's really sharp and crisp. And as the years have gone by, photos have got sharper and crisper. It's fantastic for photos. It's not so fantastic for video. Because what you'll find is that a home video looks really sharp and crisp. Too crisp. Part of it's noise, and part of it is digital crispness. And it means that every little zit, crease, wrinkle is magnified on your face. So when you do videos, you go, oh, what? And then you look at a YouTube and you go, oh, they look so smooth. It's a cinematic effect. Sharpness versus smoothness. That's for photo, that's what you want for video. Software and sensor size, all right? Software can enhance the sharpness. Sensor size can mean that you get more image in there to play around with, all right? Won't go into the detail of that, we could be here for another 20 minutes just on its own. But this is something that I've learnt that Helen will know, that I have slowly learnt. Is that when you take a video, you're trying to capture light. Think of photons. Don't think of image necessarily. Think of these lights are hitting off of my face and rebounding into that camera. And how they go into that camera will dictate what that image looks like. So the first thing is, and I'll use layperson language because I won't know all of the high-tech stuff, but aperture. Here, there's a little hole in the middle of that lens. If it's wide, light goes through it really quick, just like water going down a big hole. But if you make the hole smaller, then water kind of backs up. So if you make the hole smaller on that aperture, a couple of things happen. One, the image gets darker. If you open it up, it gets lighter. But then you get something else happen, the depth of field. If you open it up, the depth of field, which is the front and the back of the little window that I'm in focus, gets really narrow. So you'll see someone shooting with a big aperture, a low number aperture or a low f-stop will end up with a very narrow plane that things are in focus. In front of that, they're out of focus. Behind it, they're out of focus. That may be exactly what you want. But it could well be that you're standing in front of a cathedral. You want to be in focus. You want this big cathedral to be in focus, and that's maybe 30, 40 metres away. So if you make the hole smaller, less light goes in, depth of field stretches so that more can come into focus. That's the first thing. Shutter speed. The faster the shutter speed, the less light goes through, darker the image. The slower the shutter speed, the more light, the brighter the image. Too much light goes in, overexposes. Too little is too dark, can't see it. But this also has motion blur. And I spoke about having a sharp image before, but we actually want a smooth image. If we slow the shutter speed down, we get a little bit of motion blur. If we speed it up, we get a rough, jagged image. We want smooth. About 24 frames per second is cinema. If you watch all the movies that have ever been created, with a few exceptions such as Lord of the Rings, 24 frames per second. That smoothness is blur. All the smooth faces, stuff like that, that's blur. And the other thing that it is about soft and hard light, which I'll get to in a minute. But ISO, there's a little sensor behind that lens. If I turn the ISO up, it means the sensor is really sensitive to light and will read more light. As it reads more light, it will kind of make a few mistakes. That's grain. You end up with a grainy image. Particularly if it's dark and you turn the ISO way up to get it as light as you can, you'll see that everything's not so sharp. Turn it down and you'll get a darker image, but if there's enough light, you'll get the right image that you want. But this here, I think I'm going to leave you on this. soft versus hard light. This was the one thing that you do not find on masses of YouTube videos when they're talking about how to get the right look. If you end up with the sun shining at you, how big is the sun when it's shining on you? No, it's not. If you were to hold your fingers up
Same size as the moon then.
and look at the sun's about that big. A very small source of light means that every little wrinkle you've got will end up with shade. But if you were to create a studio light and make it even bigger, now you've got light coming at you from all different angles, particularly if there's a diffuser over there, right? So all that light is now even. If you want a smooth face and that cinematic look, you probably need a big light source. So I had to go and buy a studio light. If you ever see a video and it's really harsh, there's been a narrow light put on that subject on purpose to create a certain mood. I didn't want that. After you get all past that, you end up back to what most Toastmasters are actually familiar with, trying to write a damn speech. What is the point of this video that I'm trying to create? What is the purpose? What information and humour? Those are the two key things for YouTube. Information and humour. There's not too much else that people want to watch all the time. What graphics are you going to put in there? Are you going to do fancy editing, right? And speaking rate. Apparently the ultimate speaking rate for YouTube is about 230 words per minute, which is a lot faster than public speakers usually do. Because people want information or humour. Humour you can speak slower, because comedians do. But with information, they want it shoveled at you. And the moment you stop shoveling fast enough, people click off, go to the next one. So the rules of public speaking don't necessarily go to YouTube. This is you. This is potentially you taking a snapshot of your ideas, your life, your story, and you spreading them to the whole world so that people can learn what you've already learned over your lifetime, but quicker. Are you going to go through what I've gone through in order to create a video? Because I absolutely love watching reviews on cameras now. Love watching reviews about microphones. I love learning. And even though I've only created about 3 videos in the last 2 weeks, and it's taken me about 6 months to get there, I'm loving what's going to happen for the next 6 months. But I've been learning the whole way because other people chose to go onto YouTube and teach me about microphones, teach me about YouTube, teach me about cameras. And if they hadn't told their story, I wouldn't be here tonight telling you mine.
Notices we had just before our break. There is an opportunity, a fabulous opportunity for somebody at the next meeting. Someone who can shine, who can glow, who can steam and boil and everything by being the MC at our meeting. So I'm asking, do we have any volunteers that would like? Now it doesn't exclude, just because you haven't been here for a while, doesn't exclude either of, or the 3 of you, if you want to be an MC at our next meeting. It's the last meeting of our year, so if you want to have a theme, or you want to do whatever you like, is there anyone who would like to have a go? Helen, marvellous, thank you. Also, an educational. I like to get the MC and an educational sorted out, the meeting before, for the next meeting. So is anyone prepared to give some sort of educational at our meeting in December? Otherwise, I will haunt you. I will hound you. I will stalk you if I knew where you came from.
Do we have any request on what type of educational people would like to get? Is that something anyone would like to? Yeah, because it could be interesting.
Well, if
Yeah,
nobody,
change
wants,
the tire
if nobody
in
wants
15
to commit themselves, then if you want to have a chat with me during the break, we can go into that and discuss.
Thank you very much.